Hello, Maurieo Vlogs number 356, Getting Old. Hello, welcome. Well, a sure sign that you're getting old is when an event that occurred in your lifetime is lauded as something that happened 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Now, 50 years ago, on this day, in the 10th of April, 1968, young maurieo had the day off school. The deputy principal had died, and it was the day of his funeral. It was the day of a horrendous storm that struck Wellington. We were huddled inside our lounge room with the fire going. There was power cuts and things like that. But to a young 14-year-old boy, it was extremely exciting. The wind was whistling outside. I think we may have been cooking baked beans on the fire in the living room and the power cuts. And I think it was an exciting time. Meanwhile, out on Wellington Harbour, the Wahine, a ship that I had actually travelled on a couple of times and had travelled on when a previous incident had occurred, was floundering in Wellington Harbour and was backed up onto Barrett's Reef and eventually sunk, with the loss of quite a few lives. So it was quite a significant point in the history of New Zealand, I guess. And this event occurred 50 years ago, and I can remember it. Perhaps not as, the sad, traumatic occasion that some did. For me, it was an exciting day. A day off school, sitting by the fire with power cuts, as I said, cooking over the fire. But now, 50 years later, to think that someone could say 50 years ago, and the time has just flown by, although a lot of things have happened, it makes me realise that I am getting quite a lot older. While I don't wish that I was that 14-year-old boy, perhaps, yes, I would have wished maybe a few years ahead of that would be a good age. But now, as I obviously am a lot older and my body has deteriorated somewhat, I sit and think, wow, 50 years ago, at the time, unbelievable. Just trying to work out what age I would be at the turn of the century was sort of quite a huge thing for me, that I would be 46. And now I'm almost approaching 64. 50 years ago, I can remember it. I mean, I can actually remember the day, and that's just taking time to think, might be getting on a bit. Certainly my body is telling me that. So anyway, I've recovered. I've had a good night's sleep last night, went to bed early and stayed up in bed as long as I could. And I've had quite a good day. I'm feeling quite refreshed now, so that's good, and moving ahead. So if I did have something, well, it's past, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. So let's move on from there. And today's challenge is the name of this fictional character. A fictional character from a book by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde book. And it's the story of a man who did not age, but he had a portrait of himself locked away in a room, and while he stayed pretty much the same, the portrait did the aging. So this is quite a classic tale, by Oscar Wilde. So I'd like to know the name, well, the name of the book, but in particular the name of the guy that's presented here. And that's today's challenge. And yesterday's challenge was this statue here, Rip Van Winkle, who's associated with sleep. He's a guy that slept for 20 years through the American Revolutionary War, and it's set in the Catskill Mountains. I didn't know he's a Dutch American, so he's got a Dutch name. I didn't realise that that's where the setting was, and that it was in fact written by an American author. So we learn new stuff every day. And Rip Van Winkle, of course, WT came through with the answer to that one, much to his surprise, as he was out and about and couldn't answer it immediately. But the question hadn't been answered when he got home. So, yeah, all very good. So well done, WT. And let's just pop back to today's background. And thanks, everybody, for liking and subscribing and viewing and commenting and all those things. And hopefully I've got a bit of a break coming up, so I'll have a little bit more time to surf some channels and get round and make some more comments on your channel. So I look forward to catching up with you a little bit more. All good. Cheers. See you.